Hi there, this is Joan Van Ark, and you're listening to TV Confidential.
Ken Robertson welcoming you back to TV Confidential, radio talk show about television. Very happy to welcome back award-winning writer, producer, director, author, and now podcast host Joseph Wallenstein. Joe has worked behind the scenes in many production capacities on such films as The Godfather, The Paper Chase, Paper Lion, and American Hot Wax, not to mention many movies made for television. He has also produced and directed such popular TV series as Hotel, Seventh Heaven, and Knots Landing. Joe Wallenstein also is the author of several books, including Flynn and Miranda, Your Right to Remain Silent, a historical novel that tells the backstory of the historic U.S. Supreme Court ruling U.S. versus Miranda from June 66, and Nothing Dies for Film, Joe's latest book, Nothing Dies for Film, a how-to guide for aspiring filmmakers and their educators and mentors that underscores the importance of maintaining safe conditions on the set of your film so that you, the filmmaker, can focus on what really matters, that is, being creative. Joe also hosts a new podcast called Whatcha Know Joe, where he interviews filmmakers, authors, entrepreneurs, and other creatives, while also sharing knowledge and wisdom from his own experience in movies and television. Joseph Wallenstein, welcome back to our program.
Wow. Did I ever mention I don't work for scale? God, I'm thinking to myself, God, who is this guest he's got? It's funny, man. Yeah, you even mentioned some shows I forgot I did.
Well, I get ribbed sometimes for my introductions because some of my guests will say, okay, thank you. Now I no longer have somebody to write my eulogy. I'll just call you, So, but I like to fill in as many gaps as I can about the guests so that you and I could just focus on what we're here to talk about.
Sure. No, I appreciate that introduction. Thank you.
Your latest book is called Nothing Dies for Film. That's a wonderful title, by the way. What led you to write that book?
Well, when I was at USC, I was involved with training these kids in safe practices. Most of the kids would think, oh, not safety. You're going to tell me what I can't do. When the kids finally really grasped safety in filmmaking, they came to realize that a safe set is a set that gives more time to the director, the actor, and the cinematographer. And time is precious. They say time is money, but time is also means the sun goes across the sky. God dark, right? God's sun goes across the sky. And if you're noodling around with stuff because you don't have it together, you can't stop the sun. You can't order up more sun. So it was very much in their best interest to grasp it, not as a shackle, but as the wind beneath their sails. Pick your metaphors, but I mean, and some of the things the kids did were funny in their exuberance. And some of the things, well, I learned a lot. For example, the biggest save I ever did of a student filmmaker was I just asked the question at the 11th hour, and it was strictly dumb luck that I asked the right question. And I don't know if you want me to go through this story.
This is the Joe Show.
Okay. So I'm doing the safety seminar one day, and there's a young lady, and I remember her because she had bright orange hair, pumpkin orange hair. And I go through this whole thing. We had 14 different things we talked about, about balconies and car work and all that stuff. And she raised her hand. She said, Joe, can I put my own horse in my film? And I said, well, yes, but there are certain questions. Are you going to ride the horse? Are you going to hire an actor? That kind of thing.
Is it a movie horse?
Is it a movie horse? Exactly. Well, I don't think it was. Is she going to train the horse?
Yeah.
She doesn't have that much prep time, but she says, okay, but I could use it. Yes, you got to get a wrangler. You got to know how to feed it. You got to, you're going to, also, you got to know that your horse can handle it, because somebody just puts a clap stick, where you take 3, clap, and front of the horse. The horse could freak out. Okay, thanks, Joe. Okay, I don't see her for 6 weeks. She comes up to my office, and with all this kind of stuff, they had to sign hazard forms, meaning they had talked to their professor how they were going to do it. This was how they were going to do it. Was it safe? Did I agree? All that. I was always the last one to sign. So she said, well, I'm all ready to go. I'm all excited. I'm going to... And just out of sheer dumb luck, I said to her, by the way, how does the horse get into this barn? Me thinking, does it walk in? Are they trotting? Does somebody get off? How does the horse... She says to me, oh, he crashes through the window. I thought, because she had seen, I think it was True Life. It was some Arnold Schwarzenegger film. And in that film, a horse in an elevator, glass elevator, broke through the glass. So in her mind, she was going to replicate that. Well, she couldn't do it, obviously. Didn't have the time, didn't have the money, didn't have the people. So I said to her, if that stunt don't work, you're going to have an actor picking glass out of his teeth for the rest of his life.
Mm-hmm. And
only because I thought at the 11th hour to ask that question.
Well,
what happened?
Because you had umpteen years of real world experience.
Correct. Yeah.
And the other thing, going back to, is it a movie horse? I mean, I'm sure it was a lovely horse, and I'm sure that she took care of it. But as you alluded to in your answer, Joe, movie horses are trained to respond to clappers, to bells, to perform a stunt on a dime. And if they're not experienced in that, as you say, I can't imagine that horse was ready to do what she envisioned it doing.
There's no way. And what's even scarier is if you're the actor and you're a stunt, well, if it was a professional stunt person, that would have been the first question he or she would have asked. But if you're an actor and you don't know the full intent of the director, what happens when the horse at the 11th hour says, nah, not so much, and hits the brake, and just you goes through the window?
That's right.
So, but here's the thing. I've said this, I've written this, I believe this. All student filmmakers, when they're young, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, or until they really grasp the concept of safety, they're all A and C filmmakers. A, they see this image in their mind, like she did. She was going to throw this horse she was going to jump through this wall, through this side of the barn. And they see the finished product. Mm-hmm. But they do not know and do not understand and do not realize that film is made in the heavy lifting of B, physical production. Mm-hmm. Getting from the page to the stage is what filmmaking is about. It's about great ideas and beautiful scenery and wonderful performances. But getting from the page to the stage, you have to go through physical production. So that was the reason I wrote the book. Also wrote the book because I don't know if I want to tell this to your audience, but when I first started there, we had a mantra: we don't censor, we don't censor. So kids in the summer program, and the kids think they're very avant-garde. They think if they write nudity or intimacy, they have just realigned the universe. Most of it is very tame.
Yeah.
So this one girl comes to me, and her script calls for two women undressed, kissing in the shower. I said to her, okay, but you got to let the actors know, and the actors can change their mind, and you must conform to the Screen Actors Guild. You must have a bathroom. You can't have a lot of guys hanging on the set. Go through this whole thing.
Especially today,
Oh, yeah, you bet. Oh, today. Well, this is a few years. Yeah, today, no. We have, intimacy coordinators. Yep. It would be a whole different experience. Mm-hmm. But she says, okay, we can do all that. Okay. And she found two actresses who were willing to do it. Okay. They signed releases. They did everything. Come the morning of, one actor doesn't show. Okay? So this young lady, this director, takes off her clothes and gets into the shower with this other actress. okay, the very essence of the show must go on. Yeah, except this young lady who got undressed was 16.
Wow.
So now we have an underage minor doing a kissing naked scene in a shower. Well, I mean, you can believe we put a line through that and said, no, au contraire, we're not doing that. But it made me realize that there's no way I could tell everybody the crazy stuff that goes on unless I put it in writing and could, put it in the book. So that red flag, that warning shot across my bow was one of the reasons I wrote the book. Then, plus the fact that I had worked with John Eric Hexum, may he rest in peace, who was left alone with a gun in his hand on a set, and who the gun had fired blanks, quarter loads. But they had left it in his hands, and he put the gun up to his head.
The star of the show with Jennifer O'Neill. That's the guy, right?
I think so.
Cover Up.
Yes, Cover Up.
Yeah.
And even though it was a quarter load, it cracked his temple and it killed him. I thought, how could people do that? And the answer is, and it's funny because it's today's podcast, it's because people live in the snow globe. You ever hear that expression, the snow globe?
I have, but you're going to be kind enough to elucidate on what that means to my listeners.
Yeah, you ever been in the mall and somebody just stops and you bump into them? Why would that be? Because the person who stops is in their own snow globe. They don't take into consideration that there are people around them and that not everybody knows what they're going to do. And you take that, and I'll give you another example. I'm driving up Highland Boulevard one day, and I see 6 grown men standing in the bus stop across the street, in the bus lane, not on the sidewalk. And they're pointing at this building, and I know, because I've been in film for 50 years, that these guys are scouting a location. One guy's pointing to the roof, another guy's to the fire. They're talking where we're going to put the lights, where we're going to put the parallels, where we're going to tie in, what are we going to... And along comes a bus. Well, the bus driver has no clue and doesn't care that they're scouting a movie. At the last minute, they looked up and they scattered like bowling pins in the net, right? But I thought to myself, man, talk about that is snow globe.
Yeah.
Because there's a concept, it doesn't exist, but there was an expression, cinematic immunity. Cinematic immunity does not exist. Because you're making a movie, the real world has no obligation to dance to your tune. Tell you another one quickly. Worked with a great director. Love this guy. We're shooting in Brentwood. And the actors across the street, and we're on our side of the street. But we did not control the street, which was a mistake, but it wasn't my mistake. It was the company at the last minute didn't get the right permissions. And there's cars go in both directions. And we do a take, and the director says to me, I got to go see I got to tell the actor something. I said, yeah, okay, Harvey, but wait a minute. Off he goes. Walks right into traffic. Cars swerving, screeching to a stop, flipping us off, screaming, cursing. He gets to the other side. He talks to the actor. Now he's got to get back. He walks right across the street. Cars swerving, hitting their brakes, yelling, blowing their horns. I said, Harvey, what the heck were you doing? He said, I had to talk to the actor. In other words, he thinks because he's making a movie that these cars couldn't hit him. So, snow globe. It really, all snow globe is get past yourself.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
That's
There's
right.
a world out there that isn't dancing to your tune. Get past yourself.
Yes, and reach out and talk to somebody like Joe Wallenstein who can walk you through a lot of the practical realities so that you can make your film while mitigating any of the things such as accidents or any other sort of physical restrictions or time or stuff like that that prevent you from making the film you want to make. That is the subject of Joe's latest book, Nothing Dies for Film, which you can find Amazon.com, where books are sold online. One more item. If you're starting a company, particularly one that is in an emerging market, you know that averting any sort of legal dispute is crucial to your business plan. Our friends at Tectonic Law offer an array of services that can help you avoid and preempt future litigation while also developing and protecting your intellectual property and intangible assets. Tectonic Law serves the needs of a host of emerging industries throughout California and beyond, including industrial designers, beverage makers, artists, farmers, retail stores, health practitioners, wellness experts, cosmetics manufacturers, nonprofit organizations, innovators in sustainable practices, and libraries. Go to tectoniclaw.com to learn more about how Tectonic Law can help your business thrive. tectoniclaw.com. Rock solid representation for groundbreaking industries.
This portion of TV Confidential is brought to us by our friends at Front Porch Realty, the community of realtors in the Northern Bay area of California that is committed to finding the solution that is best for their clients. Whether you're a first-time home buyer or looking to sell or lease your property in Northern California, call Karen Strain at 415-886-7411 or visit frontporchrealtygroup.com for more information on how they can help you.
Ed Robertson, thanking you for listening to the TV Confidential podcast. If you like what you hear, please hit the subscribe button so that you won't miss our next episode.
Hi, this is Michelle Lee, and you're listening to TV Confidential.
Joe's podcast, Whatcha Know Joe, available Apple Podcast, Spotify, wherever you find audio. The one thing about Joe that I forgot to mention in our introduction is the fact that for many years he was the head of physical production at USC, University of Southern California School of Cinematic Arts, where among other things he worked with the hundreds of students, filmmakers who learned the practical realities of making a film while also the opportunity to explore their craft. You can follow Joe, JoeWallenstein.com. How'd you get involved with USC?
You ready for this story?
This is the Joe Show.
When I turned 58, I committed the world's single biggest sin in Hollywood. I turned 58. My career didn't slow down. It was more like a bug hitting a windshield, right?
Yeah.
So what do when I'm out of work? I go to the track. And I'm standing in the paddock of St. Anita racetrack one day, and my cell phone rings. And Michael Fileman, the gentleman you referenced as the creator of Falcon Crest, co-exec of Knots and Knots Landing, he says to me, "Hey, Joe, you have any desire to run the physical production department at USC?" I said, "Mike, what does that even mean?" He said, "I don't know, but Barbara Corday wants you to call her." Well, Mike and I had gone to Europe to do a picture for Barbara Corday when she was an executive at CBS.
Mm-hmm.
But now I'm sitting there, the first race is about to go off, and Mike says, "No, you got to call her right away." I'm thinking to myself, hey, even when somebody wants to hire you, is it really a good idea to call them and in the background they're running? So I waited, and of course I lost the first race. But I did call her, and she said, "Joe, would you come in? So I went in to see her, and she told me what the job was. And I said to Mike, I said, "Would this be a paying job?" And he said, "Yeah, I believe it would." I said, "Well, tell her I'm interested." So I went in, and, because I had an episodic mentality, I think, I do the job for a year, 8 months, 1 year, do some, whatever. Well, I ended up doing it for 20 years. And every year we'd have meetings, and the professors were all very taken with themselves. I've been here for 10 years. I've been here for 12 years. And I always used to say the same thing. I said, this is my 15th, 16th, 17th year. If I'd have robbed a bank, I'd be out by now. They never laughed. Well, of course, I said it every year. But I did 20 years, and I thought, look, we made 30,000 projects without a single injury.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of these kids still reach out to me for any number of reasons. Because I like them, they like me, and they knew I was, because there was nobody else there. A lot of very smart people there, very, very accomplished people there, not denigrating them, but none of them had my kind of experience.
You're teaching them things about the business that isn't covered in most other books, except for Nothing Dies for Film. And we'll pick up that thread on the other side of the break. Joseph Wallenstein is on the line with us. Joseph Wallenstein, award-winning Writer, producer, director, longtime head of physical production at USC, the University of Southern California School of Cinematic Arts, and the host of the podcast, Whatcha Know Joe. Talk some more, Joe. We come back here on TV Confidential. We have about a minute left this segment, enough time to tell you that if you're a fan of Prince or know someone who is, a rare, newly remastered release of Prince's iconic 1987 concert film, Sign of the Times, hits IMAX theaters nationwide for 1 week only beginning Friday, August 29th. Widely celebrated for capturing Prince at his creative peak, Sign of the Times blends electrifying concert footage with cinematic storytelling, powerful visuals, and genre-defining sound to deliver a cinematic experience worthy of his genius. It was, and still is, truly the next best thing to seeing Prince live. Only now it's enhanced in the most epic format available. Prince, Sign of the Times, Prince, Sign of the Times playing in IMAX theaters nationwide for 1 week only beginning Friday, August 29th.